Video games are an art form, and I mean that literally. Games don't need to look amazing to be considered art, like Undertale or Max Payne, but when games want to look good, they look amazing. I'm not a big fan of Horizon, granted I haven't played that much of it, but I can acknowledge that it looks absolutely stunning. However, games don't need super high tech to look stunning. Some of my favorite art directions in games are those that manage to evoke strong feelings from its art. Okami, Persona 5 and The Short Hike, just to name a few. These games look beautiful throughout the whole game, but when the art direction of a game comes as a surprise, it makes it stand out a lot more. Which is why Anor Londo of Dark Souls is one of my favorite areas in video games, not just because of the beauty of its scenery, but the beauty that goes much, much deeper. Naturally, the first thing that we naturally pick up on when we experience something new is what we see through sight. I don't have any science behind this, but just go with me on this one. Dark Souls is a pretty grim game. Its tone is oppressive, mimicked through the dark color palette, the tough enemies we face, and melancholic sounding music. Although Dark Souls has many locations that are memorable, like Firelink for being a place of rest, or Ash Lake because, well, it's Ash Lake. However, I don't find either of these two places to be as memorable as Anor Londo. You see, up until this point of the game, that point being right before entering Anor Londo, Dark Souls has been a long journey. Tough bosses, lots of areas, Blight Town, all these areas sure have been memorable in some shape or form, and if you were to ask me to draw them out, I could. However, none of the prior locations actually spring to mind when I think Dark Souls because it's Anor Londo who does it, for me at least. I don't know if many agree with me, but I think Anor Londo is the most visually stunning area of Dark Souls. Not just because its brighter color palette compared to the previous areas, making it a lot more soothing for the eyes to gaze upon, but for its grand architecture, its verticality, and so many areas that make up the whole level. First, let's just talk about how beautiful Anor Londo looks on the surface level, which is just visually speaking. I could make this whole video about how beautiful the art direction of Anor Londo is, but there's a lot more I want to cover from this area. First up, Anor Londo is just so much more hopeful compared to the previous areas, and it's pretty clear why. We humans work a lot by routines, and our brain associates a lot of things that we do with patterns that we experience in our lives, like sunlight, which we associate with being the start of a new day, a new cycle, and so on. So naturally, when sunlight has been taken away from us for a long time, finally seeing it again feels like such relief. Sure, we do see sunlight earlier on in the game, but after a long time in Blighttown and Sen's Fortress, seeing the brighter tone in Anor Londo was a reminder that we have worked hard up until this point, and now it's time to relax a bit. Well, not really relax since it's Dark Souls we're talking about, but yeah, you get what I mean. It's not just the brighter tone that makes Anor Londo visually stunning, the architecture here is truly something else. I am planning to make a full video breaking down the architecture of many video games, so this will be a sneak peek of sorts as to how that video would turn out. Anor Londo's buildings are staggering in size. Although the main area of Anor Londo is the main cathedral itself, taking a moment to appreciate the surrounding buildings is mesmerizing. The tall peaks of neighboring structures, the walkways that loom above the untouchable bottom, and so much more. The best thing that I can say in short is that Anor Londo hits all the right buttons for creating a memorable moment, and your first time going here, being flown across the mountains by what I think are goblins with wings, I just don't know, but it's truly magnificent. Of course, visuals and aesthetics aren't the only things here that make Anor Londo beautiful, but the combat and encounters that you will face here is where I think it showcases all the best aspects of the Dark Souls combat. Although some people will always connect difficulty with the Souls games, some will dive a bit further and think about the intricate combat system that is presented here. Even if Dark Souls combat can quickly fall into the loop of attack, defend, move and repeat, this loop has its own charm to it, and when put up against exciting enemies, it can very much become an art itself. I loved the combat encounters in Anor Londo. Not only do they manage to showcase the best parts of the Dark Souls combat, but they manage to achieve this by creating very engaging enemies and scenarios that always keep you on your toes. I mean, right from the jump, once you enter Anor Londo, you will see the Sentinels standing there menacingly. The encounters with these are already on scale with boss battles, and I mean that in terms of size, not, whole atmosphere-wise. But back to fighting them, their slow but hard-hitting attacks encourage you to master the dodge and knowing when to go in for the attack and when to back off, and knowing when to move out of the way without the dodge. This is in stark contrast to the other enemies you will be going up against here, like the Silver Knights or the Painting Guardians, that attack with speed. You could of course just dodge your way out of these attacks, but it gives the player a learning opportunity to use their shield and parry options to deal with these more one-on-one focused encounters that are geared towards speed. Not only are these scenarios created to encourage these two combat styles, the game also puts on a lot of twists to its formula, always keeping the player, as I said earlier, on their toes. There are lots of, gank? I don't know if that's the right term, but hey, Anor Londo has lots of spaces and corridors where foes can outnumber you and can quickly pose threats to the player if they don't have the spatial awareness of the foes around them, or how to deal with the enemies head on. In the church area, the painted guardians can make quick work of you if you aren't careful enough, and in the cathedral area, the knights hit hard and fast. Another way the game creates new scenarios in this area are by bringing back past enemies you have encountered previously and placing them in a new scenario. Taking the Titanite demon, which you first encounter under the Undead Parish, where you fight him in a large hall of sorts. In Anor Londo, you fight him in a room the size of a classroom, leaving little to no space to dodge his attacks. Or take the Bell Gargoyles, which you fought 2 of on the top of the tower, whereas in Anor Londo, you fight only 1 of them on a narrow walkway. It's these small moments of combat that keeps the combat new and exciting for the player, giving them new ways to appreciate and utilize the moveset that they have. And after all these fights, from all the skills that you have been conditioned to practice, you are faced with what is, in my opinion, one of the best From Software bosses from the ones that I've played so far. Ornstein and Smough. Words cannot describe how much I love this duo, but let me try anyways. It's a duo fight with a slow-moving attacker that hits like a truck, paired up with a fast-paced knight who also hits like a truck. These two are a perfect match. Their yin and yang of speed can lead the player to do many different strategies on repeat tries or even within a single match, and as the battle continues and you discover which of the two you want to take out first, you finally manage to take down, let's say, Ornstein, since he's always in your face and you have more opportunities to take him out. Well, once you do manage to take him out, Smough then absorbs his power of the dead corpse and is now even more powerful than before, and the same happens vice versa if you decide to take Smough out first. This boss fight does so much right. I haven't even mentioned the environment. The pillars around the grand hallway give you plenty of opportunities to split them up, only for a moment, and also gives you moments to heal if necessary. For a duo boss fight, this is top tier stuff, and still to this day is very hard to top. I'm sorry, Godskin Duo, you guys just suck. Sorry. Another reason why I love Anor Londo so much and why it's beautifully created is the importance it not only plays in the narrative of the game, but also in the narrative of the player's journey. You see, Anor Londo is the midpoint of Dark Souls. It is here where you feel the motivation, and the story stakes become a lot clearer once you talk to... I'm sorry, but how small is the player character here? We are tiny. Well, anyways, you talk to Gwynevere, which opens the Covenant option for the first time in the game, I believe, and is where you are tasked to take out, if I recall from memory, the 4 Guardian Souls, I believe, which kind of makes it open-ended-ish. Please tell me if I'm wrong and let me know what order you took out the following bosses after Ornstein and Smough. But putting that aside, this is where the game starts to game. You get a chance to reflect on your journey thus far, all the hardships you've overcome, the characters that you have followed along the way. It's a journey that perfectly encapsulates what it means to reach the halfway point, how important it is to keep pushing forward, never ceasing to give up. It's a beautiful reminder of how much better the player has gotten over the course of the journey. This is also why, sadly, Anor Londo is the final amazing area before you get to the DLC later on in the game, because the areas that follow after this aren't that good, to say the least. The Duke's Archives is alright until you have to go into the cave area. The catacombs are pretty confusing and tedious, and don't even get me started on Lost Izalith or the Tomb of the Giants. Those two places are absolutely horrendous and I never wish to set foot there ever again. I'm kind of exaggerating a bit, but if you've played Dark Souls, you can understand where I'm coming from. The areas following Anor Londo simply aren't as exciting or astonishing as Anor Londo itself. Visually, they're dark and grim, and enemy-wise, there are some really annoying ones that show up, like this skeleton dog thing. You can't tell me that this was a good idea. It's a shame, because Dark Souls is a mesmerizing game, and Anor Londo manages to capture this amazement, but alas, not all good things can last forever. I would like to make a video going in depth about the areas between Anor Londo and the DLC/endgame, because it could prove to be an interesting topic, but for now, I just want to sit back and bask in the great memories and symbolism that Anor Londo itself portrays for the player. Although I have been critical about the areas following Anor Londo, they don't take away from how great Anor Londo was. Its beauty doesn't just lie on the surface level with its amazing architecture, vistas, and overall more hopeful color palette, but goes far deeper in terms of gameplay and meaning, acting as a halfway point for the game, highlighting all the lessons you've learned thus far in your Dark Souls journey, encouraging you to master the Souls combat and pick up some new skills along the way, and finally acting as a beacon of hope. I'm sorry if that sounds cringe, but it is. Hope that the player can keep pushing on to once again experience more moments like Anor Londo, because somewhere down the line, and that one day, you might even come across your very own Anor Londo, because maybe Anor Londo is about the friends and memories that we've made along the way. I'm sorry, that was a absolutely terrible conclusion. I'm so sorry for that, but with that, welcome to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed yet another video about Dark Souls and another in-depth video essay on a single topic. This one was a fun one to write and make because I really like talking about Dark Souls. It's definitely one of my favorite games of all time, and it is easy to write and talk about something that you enjoy. If you want to see more from me, my Patreon, Twitter, Discord server, and SoundCloud are all linked below in the description, but let me know what you thought about Anor Londo. Did you love it? Or were you mixed on it? Comment your thoughts down below, and any support or critiques on this video are much appreciated. So, as of writing this, it's the middle of January-ish, 2023 has started, and I can't wait for the new games to start rolling out. First up, we got Dead Space Remake and Fire Emblem Engage coming out later this month. The latter of the two I won't be buying on release because I want to play through Fire Emblem Three Houses first, but man, Dead Space just looks insane. It looks so good, and I can't wait to pick it up soon. But that's enough rambling from me. Once again, thanks so much for watching all the way through, it really does mean a lot, and I hope to see you in the next video, which will be sometime soon, I guess. But yeah, with that, have a good rest of your day, night, and week, and Storm out.